Welcome everyone to this session about tournament administration services. Very important in this time that we have to play chess online, and with us are two representatives of big platforms, and we have also one arbiter and organizer who gives a little bit of a different perspective.
Quick introduction. I was a chess player back in the day. I was the Australian Junior Chess Champion back in 1996 and went on to start a chess coaching academy or scholastic programs in Australia, and we built up a reasonably sort of successful coaching programs in schools, and through that we were running a lot of chess tournaments. From 2008 to 2012, in order to manage the volume of tournaments that we were running, we built an online platform for event management. And so we kind of took the three main processes of running a chess tournament: collecting registrations, doing pairings on the day, and then producing some results. And we put them all into one web-based platform called Tornelo. Tornelo is a portmanteau. It's a combination of the words tournament and ELO. So you can see where it kind of evolved from. It was a tournament management platform. So there's a bit of bells going off there. So we built the platform essentially for our own use, to manage the 200 or 300 chess tournaments a year that we were running. When COVID hit at the start of this year, we had a look around at the platforms that were out there and thought, well, we wanted to try and have something that was a little bit different from what was on offer, and we decided to build onto our pairings program an online game server, which we did in March and April, and since then we've been running online chess tournaments. I guess the fundamental difference between what we're doing and what other platforms are doing is that our focus is on the organizers and the arbiters much more than it is on the players. And so by focusing on the organizers and the arbiters, we try to give the same level of control over an online tournament and the same, or I guess a closer experience to the online, to the over-the-board experience from when they're playing online. So that's kind of our objectives, is to try and make the experience for players as close to the over-the-board experience as possible, and for the arbiters to give them full control and insight over everything that's happening all the time. So there are downsides to that. It does mean that the arbiter has to be there all the time, and you can't start a tournament without the arbiter being present. But yeah, we've been kind of building things over the last 6 months, and I've been thrilled to have some success with the European Chess Union and with FIDE selecting us to run some of the major events. The first one was the European Youth Championships, which was 750 players, and we were pretty nervous about having 750 players online all at the same time, starting their games at the same time. How does our infrastructure deal with that? And we cruised through really well, so that was excellent. And I think then once we demonstrated our capabilities on a larger scale, we were able to then have other organizations selecting Tornelo as a platform. So I'm going to do a quick screen share after that introduction, and just show you just kind of a quick walkthrough of the platform from a couple of different perspectives. So this is our homepage. There are I guess kind of three different views that you can look at when you're looking at Tornelo. The first one is as an organizer, and what we try to do is we try to give each organization, that is the brand, if you like, that owns the tournament, some visibility. So we've got a bunch of organizations here. There's the European Chess Union, and so we will give kind of a bit of a brand presence to an organization, contact details, descriptions, and then of course all of the upcoming and past events for that organization. So that's the kind of the first step, is that to run a tournament on Tornelo, you need to be an organization. We've got some people who are micro chess coaches who are just running six kids in a tournament, and they're very small. And we've got the European Chess Union and FIDE who are obviously running, well, FIDE is running the World Youth Championships at the moment on the platform. So as an organization, you've got your brand presence, you've got your contact details, you've got kind of a bit of a landing page for all of your customers to come to. You've got the ability to delegate responsibility to other people through the roles, so you can give other people access to your events as well. So that's kind of just a very brief overview of the organization structure. There is a process of verification. So if you go out there and create an organization tomorrow, just be aware that there will be some functionality that is missing until you go through a verification process, because we do have this public, and there are kids on the site, and we want to make sure that anybody who's actually running events and having then their name and their phone number and all those sorts of things, descriptions, publicly visible, they've got to be verified manually to make sure those people aren't spammers or jokers or kids messing around. So yeah, go ahead and set that all up if you like to. It is free to create accounts and to set up tournaments and do everything you need to do. All right, so then after the organization, we've now got a tournament itself. So here we have a tournament, and this is what we call the pairings program. For every tournament, there are two views. There's the pairings program, which is what the Arbiter gets to see, and there's the tournament lobby, which is what the players get to see. So the pairings program functions very much the same way as you would expect any pairings program. You can do pairings, you can change pairings, you can change results. You've got full control over everything that happens. The players themselves, and what we've tried to do with Tornelo is make sure that it's a single page experience. So we wanted to try and avoid the complication of please go to this page to register, and please go to this page to see results after the tournament, and please go to this page if you're a spectator, and that just kind of confuses everybody. So we've just got a single URL, and so the single URL works whether you're a spectator, an organizer, player. You go there and you can register for the tournament. You can see here we collect registration fees, which is really important to make it as easy as possible for organizers to actually collect an entry fee from players. The only time Tornelo is charging a fee is when you process a registration. We charge a small, it's less than 3% transaction fee on that registration, but there's no obligation to do that at all. You're welcome to run as many free events as you like, or collect entry fees outside of the system, and then Tornelo doesn't cost you anything. So yeah, the registration page for the players, I'll flick across to here, is what we call the tournament lobby. And you can see here at the top of the tournament lobby, this notification bar across the top is the critical part of the page. So that at the moment tells you that you're spectating and asks you to sign into the tournament. It also gives you a link to the Zoom room, so you can then communicate with players. So you click on Open Zoom Room, the players will be into their Zoom meeting. You'll also notice that there's some attendance been marked. So some of these players have actually come in and checked in, a bit like getting onto an aeroplane in those pre-COVID days when you could fly around, where you have to check into your flight. So let's quickly sign in as a player and just demo through the process. So we've signed in. It tells us what to do next. We're going to enter the tournament. One different many-to-many relationship with players and email addresses. So you can have one email address, and you can enter 3 children on the one email address. So here we've got Harry and Hermione as my 2 kids, and different entry fees, and you can have team events as well if you wanted to, select team. Okay. details for the players, I'll address. Those contact
Yeah, Stefan, I think there's some discussion about whether or not his screen froze.
Oh, that's the thing.
Sorry?
Yes, so
Oh,
I think we should improvise here.
sorry, am I back in the meeting now? Zoom just kicked me out.
No, we hear your voice, but we don't see your screen anymore, and everything like was become very slow.
Okay,
Seems like connection issues.
yeah, Zoom just kicked me out of the meeting for some reason. I'm not sure what happened there. Not sure what
Okay.
happened. Am I back?
We hear you. We hear you. Should we interrupt at this point and you? No, if it's coming up, we should just continue here. If it's not coming up, we let you.
I mean, it doesn't tell me that I've got any connection issues.
Okay, go ahead. We see your screen.
Okay. We're just going to enter these players into the top, go from there. So yeah, once the players have been registered for the event or registered themselves for the event, the player themselves, the user who's logged in can control multiple players. So they would have to choose who they are playing as for that tournament. We've got a check-in process. So the players come to the tournament lobby and you can see there's a smiley face at the top. When you make that a smiley face, the arbiters and the other players get to see who's actually checked in for the tournament. So we've got a green connection status. So Tornelo is always displaying to the arbiters each player's connection status at all times. So the arbiters have got kind of full visibility over what's happening, where the players are and who's connected or not connected. So I'll just, that would be the process the players would go through to get to the point where they're ready to start the games. Yeah, maybe that's what happened was my. Okay, so back to the pairings program, which is what the arbiters will see. And the arbiters have got the list of players checked in here. They can manually check in additional players if they want to. And when they're ready to go, start the tournament. So Tornelo uses YavaFo as a pairings engine for individual Swiss tournaments. So it will give you the same pairings as Swiss Manager if you've got an individual Swiss tournament running. We've had an option here to do something with the players that have not checked in. So I'm just going to withdraw those players for the event. And here we have the first round pairings completed. And so all of our players are paired up. You'll see the red connection status. So we can see all the players when they're connected and when they're disconnected. And we get to see full control over everything that happens in these games. Back to the player. As the player comes to the board, to their page, it will automatically pop up saying you're black against Jar Jar Binks, and there's a play now button. So the player can just click the play now button and they're into their game. Now, in terms of connections, players also get to see the green connection status, red connection status. The player cannot start the game until both players are actually connected. All right, so once both players are connected, you'll see that the light goes green for Jar Jar Binks when both players are connected. Only at that point can the game then begin. Okay, but before both players are connected, you've got to kind of give your opponent some courtesy and wait for them to arrive. Obviously, an arbiter has control, so the arbiter can pop into the game. Maybe they give it a 1 or 2 minute delay. Once the arbiter is ready to start the games, the arbiter can come into the game and can simply start the clocks for the players as well. So As an arbiter, you get to see all the connection status. So here we are, we can see all the connections. We can go in and watch a game. And if the players aren't connected yet, you just simply start the clock.
So, David, this is the time I have to give you a 1 minute delay. Can you wrap it up, please?
Yep. Yeah, we're pretty much 1 minute is perfect. So the final features that you need to see for the players, they've got a call arbiter button, so you can click that, pauses the game, have a chat with the arbiter. The arbiters can come in and adjust the clocks, do whatever they need to do, chat to the players while the games are in progress. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Arbiters can do what they like with the games. They can see what's happening at all times, and they can get involved with games. They can take back moves if they need to. They can chat to players. They can declare games drawn. And at the end of the day, we try to make the experience as close as possible to over the board. Thank you, Steph.
Thanks, David, and right on to Mike.
Thank you. Apologies for the disconnect.
Yeah, you have to stop sharing. Yeah, that's done. Mike Klein is here from Chesskid, and it's an amazing platform where kids can learn, that is used in schools, and more recently, a lot of competitions have started on Chesskid, and I think Mike is all about that.
Thank you, Stefan. Thank you, David, for that great presentation and for staying up late. I'll go ahead and start my presentation by sharing this screen. Like David, we noticed that starting around March, for obvious reasons, everybody was trying to move their over-the-board events online. And Chesskid has always allowed people to organize tournaments online, but they want a little bit more of the over-the-board experience, as was just explained. So we've come up with this sort of 3-level package of what we can offer programs. Now, if you're a coach who wants to run a live tournament for your 10 or 15 kids, you can do that on Chesskid without any of our help. We'll obviously give you information about how to do that. We have training videos and such. But what we're really trying to show today is how can you run what would otherwise be a large over-the-board event using the Chesskid platform. And so we've developed 3 different packages here, which I've put up on the screen. I'll talk about some of the events that we've already run in just a minute, but one of the biggest reasons that people are calling on Chesskid is because they want a fair event. So in all of these packages, we actually give a live fair play monitor. We've got about 15 people that work on the Chesskid and chess.com fair play system. And we actually have one of those members sitting in with you on your event live to make sure that kids are playing fairly, because if a kid is not playing fairly, it's better to take action quickly rather than wait till the end of the tournament. So that's one thing we give in every single package for these events that are hiring us. Also, in all the packages, you actually get a dedicated project manager. We have a Chesskid events manager. And this is kind of like a wedding coordinator, for lack of a better analogy. This person takes you from the idea to the actual completion of the tournament and all of the results and prizes and everything, walking you through all of the steps. We help you create all of the accounts for all of the children. We help put them in the right sections, and we give you full control over what kind of tournament you want to have, how long you want the time controls to be, how many rounds, when you want it to start, all of that sort of thing. At the end of the tournament, you get a full cross table. So if you want to rate it, for example, the US Chess Federation has live online ratings, and you can use our cross table to rate all of the games. And then if you start moving up into the higher level packages, it's because you've got a bigger event, you need more support, you need more people. And also you might want us to do things like create your tournament logo. And I'll give you some examples of that. And in our largest tournaments, we even produce the live stream. We have a producer for the show. We create the templates in the background, and we put those shows on our live streaming channels to get an organization a lot more exposure. And also, you know, I don't know if everybody agrees with this, but parents aren't always that keen to go to weekend tournaments with their kids because they aren't allowed in the room. And it's not nearly as exciting as, for example, watching your child play football. But this is actually much more entertaining for parents because instead of sitting in the lobby of a tournament ballroom or hotel ballroom, they can actually watch their children on the live stream. It's a little bit more exciting, and they don't have to give up their entire weekend. So You can take a look here, a little bit of the different packages. I'm not going to go through every single thing. But in general, as you move up in the packages, we offer you more advertising, more exposure. And really one of the ways that Chesskid separates itself from other events is that we have the staffing to be with you from, like I said, from the beginning of your idea of your tournament to the day of the tournament to when the tournament's over. We help you calculate all of the results and the fair play and all that kind of thing. One of the other things that we like to provide is a live help desk, because you and I know, and I'm sure David agrees, parents will mess up any instructions you give them. So to have a live help desk, sometimes we have it via Zoom, sometimes we have it via Slack. So a parent will come online and say, hey, I can't figure out my child's password. Or you'd be surprised how many parents try to log into chess.com and not Chesskid for a Chesskid event. And we have to walk the parent down the correct road to get them ready to play in the tournament. So let me give you some examples now of some events that we've run. I'm going to change my screen share, so don't panic that you can't see my screen for a second. And let me give you a new screen. Okay, this is just what a tournament looks like on Chesskid. This is a random tournament that we're hosting as a site. It's not one of our larger partnership tournaments, but you can see that there's 19 games in progress. You can click on the binoculars to look at the game. And if you go back, you can actually see the current results of the tournament. So that's just what it looks like when a tournament is in progress. This one's actually taking place right now. Okay, so in May, we had our very first big event, the Washington State Chess Championship. Would normally have been held over the board, but they contacted us and we had a very successful event with 1,200 children. We wrote a wrap-up article to give the organization more exposure, and this is just an example of a child playing in that event. Washington State has already hired us for their 2021 event because they've already decided it can't be held in person, so we expect another successful event with more than 1,000 kids. In August, the U.S. Chess Federation partnered with us to have an online event. We had 2,100 kids compete in that event. Again, just some examples of some kids playing down there. This little girl decided to play in her hammock. There's no rule against playing in a hammock, I suppose. And this is an example of a logo that we created for the tournament. We have another big event coming up with the U.S. Chess Federation next weekend, actually. One of the ways that we can help advertise for an event is using our really, really strong social media channels. So for example, this is our TikTok channel with almost 100,000 followers. We had a video a couple days ago that got 4 million views. I'll be honest with you, I'm not a social media expert, but I'm happy that we can sometimes give a little more exposure by putting something up on one of our 3 or 4 social media channels. So very happy, but I have no idea why that video on the 2-move checkmate got 4 million views. So let's move on. Every child receives a certificate of participation after the tournament is over. This is just an example of one from this summer. The U.S. Chess Federation also gave away some prizes like these little customized jerseys. The next big event, like I said, is next weekend. We have another event coming up with the U.S. Chess Federation. This has 2,300 kids already signed up. This is the registration page for the tournament. You can see 2,300 players are ready to go. And we have an event coming up with FIDE. It's our first big partnership with FIDE. So coming up in January, we have the Intercontinental Chesskid FIDE Challenge. Now, we like to cater to the needs of the organizer. So we have tons of meetings and we work for the organizer. In this particular case, FIDE wanted us to run an event that was more based on fun and participation and less based on who finishes first, second, and third. So we created a system where if you win games in the event, you win raffle tickets, and we're going to have a raffle at the end of the tournament, and the winners actually get to go to mini camps with Vishy Anand, Alexandra Kostenyuk, and Humpy Kaneru, and we might hire some more grandmasters. The funny thing about this event is we don't know which kids are going to win because it's literally worldwide. And so if we have a lot of kids that win from France and they can only speak French, we're going to have to hire MVL. So we've promised those grandmasters, but we may end up actually having to hire more. Again, another example of a tournament logo that we created with FIDE. And we had many meetings beforehand to decide everything for them. Again, we're going to have all of our systems in place the day of the tournament in case parents need any help. This particular event, because it's worldwide, we actually have 2 different events to try to accommodate as many time zones as we can. So the first event starts at 9 a.m. UK, which means most of the European, Asian, and if you stay up late, the Australian kids can play. And then the next event is 9 a.m. California time, Pacific time. So we tried to cover as many good time zones as we could. There's always some people that get a little bit left out, but we try our best. Just some more examples of some tournament logos that we've created. This is an example of a cross table at the end of the tournament. You get a full PGN download of every single game. This is coming up in progress. We're going to have a multi-view so that coaches, tournament organizers, parents, etc., will be able to watch many games at once. And this is just a quick example of one of the things that we do for fair play. We ask kids to watch a video. It's actually quite silly. It's me and Danny Wrench basically doing things in a funny way that aren't allowed as a funny way of explaining to kids how we expect them to behave on the website in our events. So I won't take up too much more time. I want to give Aris some time to speak and some time for questions and answers. But that's what Chesskid can offer. And the platform is evolving to meet the needs of online tournament event organizers during the pandemic. So.
Thank you, Mike. Quick question. Aren't you competing with chess.com, your parent company? Because I hear that some of the people very happily organize their kids and junior tournaments on chess.com.
Well, the thing with Chesskid that separates itself from chess.com is the safety aspect. Also, quite interestingly, chess.com has actually hired more than 70 people just in Q3. That's how big chess is booming. However, their main focus is on building a great platform. They're more of a B to C company, and they're our parent company, so I don't mean to talk about them in the third person. But Chesskid is more B to B. So for example, if you have a problem on Chesskid of any kind, you're much more likely to be able to get a person that you know, whether it's me or one of our support team members. Whereas chess.com is just so big, they don't have the one-to-one relationship with organizers that we do. So we do piggyback a lot of their strengths. For example, as you might guess, we don't have a different fair play system than chess.com. Fair play is fair play, right? And we do piggyback some of their social media channels. And, you know, if we have a really big event stuff on, we'll actually put it on chess.com/TV because their embed site will get thousands more views. But we don't view ourselves as competition. In fact, interestingly, this tournament we have coming up next weekend with the US Chess Federation, it is half on Chesskid and half on chess.com. That's just the way we decided to do it. So, but what's good for us is good for them. And of course, we hope that when kids are using Chesskid and they age out, that they'll move on to chess.com. You know, one hand supports the other.
Okay, thanks, Mike. We have a third discussant here, Aris Marghetis, or do you say
Marghetis is good.
Marghetis. You're in Toronto, in Canada, and you are an arbiter, and you're very experienced now with online events because you do that all the time now, as I understand. So you have seen these presentations about these 2 platforms. Do you think platforms are getting any better, any more suitable to competitions online this year? Do you see many changes?
Absolutely. So I work across 4 different platforms regularly. So one thing that's impressed me is the people and groups that have set up these platforms and that maintain them are very passionate about chess. I think they all have their strengths. I think looking ahead, the platforms that will rise, I think will be the ones that are able to incorporate some of the strengths of their competition. I think sometimes there's a bit of a silo effect occurring with some of the sites, and whoever's I think the most adaptive groups, the most adaptive platforms to incorporate other people's strengths, I think that they're going to flourish even more. But you're right, there's a tremendous amount of effort right now and appreciation. Chess is perfect for an online activity. And so everybody's jumping on that bandwagon trying to make it happen.
As an arbiter, do the platforms do what you want? Do they have what you want, or is there something that you really miss?
They do have what we want. I think another important aspect will be the ability of platforms to take the whole almost the life cycle of a tournament and try and incorporate it. Everything from registration to generation of proper FIDE pairings or USCF pairings if you're in the States, or importing of pairings, all the way through to the technology behind fair play monitoring. I think that the more of a coherent integrated package you have, I think that's more attractive to the participants. And then as it's ironically, whatever is good for the participants is good for the arbiters. Our life becomes much easier. I was talking with a good friend of mine in the States yesterday, Sophia, and we're talking about trying to monitor players now sometimes, and it's like watching an aquarium of tropical fish. There's just, you're looking at dozens and dozens of monitors, and it's just hard to keep track. So I think that's something that's going to be improved over time as platforms integrate all the technology that they can use and should use for fair play monitoring.
This is an education effort. The players have to be educated. Normally in tournament life, this is done by the clubs, by the arbiters, by the coaches. In the online world, the platforms have to do much more. Do they do it well? This education of the players, not to cheat, to behave properly.
Yes, I mean they're trying. It's a challenge because of the widespread population that you're targeting. There are some language challenges as well, but I find that I'm impressed with the attitude and ethics behind the platforms. They're trying to do the job right, but it's brand new and it's moving along fast, and I'm already very impressed that so many huge events have been run on these platforms. Mike was mentioning the 1,200 person event in the States. David's organization has been involved with multiple FIDE events. It's quite impressive that what has been accomplished really in less than 9 months.
Mm-hmm. Okay, these were my immediate questions to you. I think we should open it up to more questions from the audience, and we are not so many. As I don't see anyone in the chat right now. If you have a question, you can also speak up right after one of us. For the moment, I hear some people are chat. I see, sorry, in the chat, Mike. Some parts of Chesskid are not translated to German. It's not all the functionalities seem to be there. Do you want to briefly comment on this?
We've translated most of the site into German, and there's 2 ways to access it. You can just go to chesskid.com/DE, and all of the site functionality is in German. The first 30 videos and lessons are in German in case you're looking for content. We don't have everything in German. It's an evolving process, but this is a little bit outside online tournament discussion. But if you just want your children to improve, we have this levels system where you watch a video, then you take a lesson based on what you saw. We've got about 150 levels, and the first 30 are in German. We're also in Spanish, French, Lithuanian, Korean, Russian, and we're currently working on Greek and Chinese. We actually have a 2,000 kid event on Chesskid in Athens coming up later on in December. You can always go into your settings and change your language. So now I'm sad to say, despite my last name, Stefan, I can only speak English. So
okay.
I'm aware to all the German speakers of what my last name means. But yeah, if you communicate with me, I prefer English, please.
Sure. Okay, David, when you look at this at the offerings of Chesskid.com, do you because they have somehow optimized their tournaments for this situation? You have parental control, more friendly, and so on. Do you think about different versions of your platform for different target groups?
No, not really. I mean, we're trying to be kind of agnostic in terms of we want to be in the background and hidden in the background, in the same way that you might use Gmail to run your business emails, or you use Zoom to run your business meetings. At the end of the day, the organizations, the clubs, the coaches, they are the ones that should have, kind of the limelight, if you like. And so, we're just a tool. We're the same as, a Swiss manager, or the same as, as any other tool that can be used by organizers. And so it's really up to the organizers of the tournaments how they want to personalize their event, how they want to kind of create it to make it suit, different user groups. So, we've got privacy controls in there, both at the tournament level as well as the individual level. We've got fair play built in, which is not automated. Again, we provide all that information to the organizers and the arbiters. So we will never, just turn off somebody's account. We'll give the information to the organisers and the arbiters and let them make the decision, because they know the players. At the end of the day, it's about building communities of players. In the organisers' communities. It's not our community; it's the organisers' communities that are being built. And I guess the other key thing that we're trying to do in order to get those communities built and have trust in those communities is that we're using real names at all times. And so it's kind of a policy of Tornelo that if you're playing on Tornelo, you must use a real name, and you must have a genuine identity. Down the track we'll have some identity verification, but I think it's it makes a different experience when you're actually playing as yourself.
Yeah, quick question to both of you, Mike and David. Do you have an API so that the results can be quickly transferred, for instance, to a website?
Generally, yes, we can get it to an organization's website using their API.
Yeah. We don't have an API. We've got export formats, like TRF export format, so it's easy to import export in and out of Tornelo. But no API that will automatically do that. Obviously, players can always come back and download their PGNs or view all the games, and you see it in the same way that you would on Chess Results. You see a tournament structure on Tornelo in the future as well.
Yeah, as editor of a chess website, I'm curious. I've done this only for half a year, or now a little bit longer than that, but 8 months. And we do reviews, we do news from the industry, but you have been around for some time, Mike and David. Okay, your website is more new, but did you see any reviews where it was critical and were clearly knowledgeable? Do you see good, strong, how to say that in English, knowledgeable, because a lot of the content that is now out there in chess is quite superficial, or it is already on the side. Oh, I report about my favorite in my stream or in my blog. Did you see any of that?
I'm sorry, the question is?
Yeah, very critical reviews, but knowledgeable, not rubbish, saying, oh, Chesskid is all blah, 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 but well, it can be a positive review, but very thorough. Did you see?
One of the most common critiques I get on Chesskid is that it's only for beginners. And when we first started about 8 or 9 years ago, it was only for beginners. Basically, what we did was we took chess.com, we stripped away all the things kids don't need, blogging, social access, and we thought, hey, we have a new website. And then we realized, no, coaches, schools, federations, they need something different. So we've added a lot. So it was a correct critique many years ago. But for example, I was explaining before how we have these different levels that kids go through. We have something called the King levels, and King 53 is exchange sacrifices. I record all the videos, Stefan, and I'm literally showing Petrosian's positional exchange sacrifices that 1900s don't really understand that well. So that's not anything to do with it with online tournament services, but we're trying to sort of dispel that critique. Now, I will be the first to tell you our iOS app was not up to par, but we actually just released a new version a couple months ago with very high reviews. And I didn't show it here, but you can now play tournaments on our iOS app, which was obviously previously a very big weakness. And our new Android app is coming out very soon too. So one thing about Chesskid, we don't beta test things for a long time. And so we often just throw stuff up and there can be a bug or two, but we're very, very responsive. So between us and chess.com, I think we have more than 250 employees now. So we're constantly working on things and trying to make a better experience. I'll also say that we got a lot of positive reception from parents because their kid can play in a tournament. You know, they've been working hard all year, getting better. They want these they want these big events to showcase what they've learned. And I think like I said earlier, it's a little bit nicer for the parent. The parent can put their kid in front of the computer and go about their day instead of, you know, spending money on an airplane flight or a car and go to a tournament, that kind of thing.
Okay, another question that's going not to Toronto, but to Ottawa, I've been told. Aris, sorry for that. And the question is, arbiters are probably discussing the platforms now much more than in the past too, the pros and cons. How do arbiters communicate? Is there a good arbiter review or website where you can read really deep information about Chesskid, Tornelo, and if there's another platform, I've forgotten any name.
But there are multiple ways arbiters speak with each other all the time. I think what I'd like to talk about for a sec though is one of the considerations that's not obvious to people outside of the arbiter field is that during these events, the arbiters need to communicate. And so different organizations, as they run tournaments, they use different mechanism. It could be WhatsApp calls, it could be Slack channels, it could be combinations, it could be Google Meets on the side. So all those things too, it's an overhead that people need to learn how to use more efficiently. If those types of things get incorporated into the platforms in some way, then that also facilitates how the tournament is run. The smoother life is for the arbiters and the TDs, the better it is for everyone, the whole experience. I know there's a question I saw in the chat that I'd just like to answer quickly for everybody. I think it was from Alex. Alex, I know, I find that especially younger people, learning a new platform is not a significant challenge in my opinion. The arbiters have to do it all the time anyway. I work on 4 different platforms within every 2-week period. And so, yeah, it's people can learn other platforms. It's not, all the platforms are quite professional and sharp and I think easy to learn.
But there are some small differences and sometimes some problem can occur because of this, or no real problems. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think that, like I said, I think everybody, there's a lot of passion behind these platforms and they're well done. And I think that people can learn them. Like it's not a significant challenge at all. Maybe the first time on where to log in or what location to be on the platform, but then that's it. After the first round, I find that every event, things are much smoother. Everybody catches on quite quick, especially the generation, like the new generations of young people playing. They've grown up digital. It's not a challenge for them at all.
Do you think there should be something like clear principles that all platforms have to agree and commit to and put into practice for an online competition to take place? Or is it implicitly already there?
So I guess what I've seen happening is as platforms bid for events with the major chess organizations, in the negotiations that occur, certain requirements are set forth. I think over time, the platforms match more and more closely to what the organizations want and need. However, that's balanced with just the reality. Things are moving so quickly that some of the online implementations are not exactly like over the board implementations. It's just a reality. But I do see it getting better and better, like more alignment. Did we lose?
I'm not sure how to overcome the idea of having to learn different platforms. I think if you're a live tournament platform, you should make the experience as simple as possible so that once the parent or child has the username and the password, it should be relatively self-explanatory how to play in the tournament once they log in. Otherwise, you're probably not doing a great job as a website. So,
agreed. Yeah, we've got one other feature on Tornelo. I guess I'd just share while we're waiting for Stefan to find his way back into Zoom. That if you have signed in with the wrong email address and password, because people do that all the time, they sign in with a different email address, you can just provide the player with a token, which is like a one-time PIN, and that will connect the player's account and allow them to play. So you don't have to go through the headache of getting the player to, remember what their password is, or reset their password, or create the, create a new account or whatever. You just sign in with any email address, any password. Like you just as long as you're in the site, and you can be using your mum's email address or your dad's or a different one. You simply, the arbiters have got control, and they can say, all right, well, I can see you, Aris, you're in the room. I'm going to give you a token, and you can still play your games, because definitely that first stage of any tournament is by far the trickiest. So I think we've lost Stefan. Aris, you're in charge now. It says host.
Really? Okay, because I'm the arbiter.
It says host.
Are there questions people would like to send to the chat, either to Mike and David, or to myself?
I guess
Stefan's back.
Yeah, I'm sorry, my system just crashed out. This is a funny session, isn't it? We're waiting for this to happen to Mike, maybe not.
Yeah.
Did you see more questions in the chat? Everybody can now speak up. Just unmute your mic.
So I'll answer Alex Longson's question. So we do a couple of things to make sure that parents are familiar with Chesskid. So one, of course, is that we send them a big, long email about every single thing that could come up during the event, rules, procedures, everything. But for all of our big events, we have a warm-up event the week before. And we have learned that this is key. The warm-up event has no prizes or anything. It's literally just meant to get kids and families acclimated to Chesskid. They can log in, they know how to enter a tournament, they know what it feels like to play in a tournament, even the play experience. A lot of kids have never used pre-move. And if you accidentally pre-move, we've all accidentally pre-moved before probably. Little things like on Chesskid, there's no auto queen. Because we thought, I know we're getting a little bit granular here, but we want kids to learn how things operate on Chesskid. In fact, one little tip I give in this big email that we send to parents, kids don't have as good motor skills as adults. And if you're playing rook on E1 to E8, if you drag that rook as a kid, you could very easily drop it anywhere along the E file accidentally. So little things like clicking on the rook, letting go, and then clicking on the destination square is a safer method of making a very long rook move. So it's just better if all of those little things get ironed out the week before. So we actually just had a warm-up event yesterday. Stefan, I was monitoring that event while being in the conference because we wanted, like I said, we want all these things to be ironed out before the real thing happens.
Yeah, I would second that, Mike. If anyone's planning to run a tournament online, definitely get yourself a warm-up event, a practice event. It's been one of the best things that that organizers have done, because it gives the arbiters and the organizers a chance to practice that as well. So we've got warm-up events for the World Youth Championships, which are open to anybody on Tornelo every day for the next, I think we had about 35 of them. There's still another 3 or 4 to go. If anybody does want to get involved, we're going through till Friday the 11th will be our last World Youth warm-up practice event, and it's just called Daily Practice. And I'll pop a link in there, and people can jump on and play in a tournament or jump in as an arbiter if they're interested. You know, these are all live arbiter run events.
Question about procurement. You're from federations, so do they plan for enough money to have you? Do you see big miscommunications sometimes, Mike, David, when they come to you about hosting an event, or is the business side of this pretty smooth?
It's been pretty smooth for us so far. In the case of state federations, you know, we have 50 states in the US. A lot of their revenue comes from their big scholastic championship. And if they don't have that, they need an option. And they have found that they're still able to make what they normally make in revenue using our partnership, because while we do charge for our services, we're not charging nearly as much as like it would cost to rent a hotel ballroom or provide all of the in-person services. And we've also not gotten any pushback from parents, because we're providing a quality service. They're used to paying for tournaments anyway. And, you know, an organizer can always adjust their entry fee to whatever will make them the kind of revenue that they're looking to make. That's still their call at the end of the day. So, so not yet. It's been pretty successful. Pretty much every organization that's contacted us, we've worked out some arrangement that's worked.
David, are you happy with the tenders for tournaments that you see, you know, put out by federations? Do they have the right form, the right thinking behind them?
I don't know that I've actually seen very many tenders, but usually by the time that FIDE gets around to putting out a tender, it's closes 2 days later, and you've kind of missed the boat anyway. So I think it's probably, you know, there are a few platforms that can run events. The organisers should get out there and talk to the platforms directly. You know, I probably need to, Mike, take some tips from you, because we're not charging anything for all of the same services that you're providing. You know, helping organisers and so forth. But we should probably be charging a fee for a lot of that work. I mean, at the end of the day, we're trying to just be a platform, though, that you know, is kind of the organisers and the arbiters at the end of the day should be able to do this all themselves. You know, then there is no tender process needed, or you know, not in any other way than deciding whether you use Swiss Manager or Vega to do your pairings for your tournament. You know, it should just be something that the organisers and the arbiters can go and do. We only charge a fee if the organisers are collecting registration fees through the platform. If they're collecting registration fees externally, there is no cost, and we charge less than 3%. So, you know, we've got organisers, you know, we get 20 cents per game per player if they're charging a $15 entry fee or something like that. So it's pretty insignificant.
Aris, did you help some federation, your federation maybe, to work with to do the negotiation with the platforms?
No, not directly. I find that in the West, like I'm from North America, in North America, there's much more of a tendency of each organization working directly with the platforms rather than the national federations. So maybe it's different in Europe or other parts of the world, but here in North America, it's a much more independent relationship building between organizations and platforms.
So thanks, everyone.